The stars over Sector K-99 were silent. Once, this space had been busy, home to trade ships, patrol cruisers, and deep space colonies. Now, only wreckage floated in the void. Commander Threx stood on the shattered bridge of the Varnock flagship Kirilon. His uniform was torn and blood seeped from a deep cut on his shoulder. Around him, sparks flew from broken panels. Half his crew was dead. The other half were losing hope. He pressed his clawed hand against a cracked screen, watching static. Then suddenly, a broken voice crackled through the speaker. "Zareth swarm. Breached. Main engine sector. All defense lines gone. May the stars guide us." Then silence. Threx lowered his head. That was the last of the fleet. The final. Ship Ovlak 12 had fallen. The Zareth were unstoppable. Once thought to be a minor threat, the Zareth swarm had now destroyed 5 Varnock systems in just 1 month. They didn't talk. They didn't show mercy. They consumed. And now, Threx knew, they were coming for him. The desperate choice Commander Threx limped to the central console. Emergency power flickered on and off. Only one communication channel still worked. An old relay used for deep space scans. "Commander," said Lieutenant Sarah, her voice weak. "All standard frequencies are blocked. The Zareth, they're jamming us." Threx stared at the screen for a long time. Then he made a choice that no Varnock had dared to make in 100 years. He changed the transmission code to Alpha Terra Protocol. Sarah's eyes widened. "You're contacting them?" Threx nodded. "We need a predator," he said quietly. "We need someone who kills without honor. Someone who doesn't care about rules. We need a human, Earth, classified blue zone." Thousands of light years away, on a remote Earth base in Alaska, a small monitor beeped. A man stood in front of it. Human, late 40s, broad-shouldered, face scarred, eyes cold. Eli Maddox had seen wars, too many. He'd left that life behind, disappeared from the world. No one from Earth's military had spoken to him in years. But this message wasn't from Earth. He hit the replay button. A blurry alien face appeared. Varnock, tall, scaled, proud. The species that once called humans primitive apes. "To Earth Command, if any human receives this, we beg for your help. We are not allies. We never were. But we are dying. Our enemies learn, adapt, devour. You are our last option. Please, if you still exist, come." The message ended. Static returned. Eli stood in silence. Outside, snow fell heavily. Inside, he picked up a long black duffel bag and unzipped it. Inside were weapons. Old, but clean. Maintained. Ready. He loaded each one, calm and focused. Then he looked up at the stars. "So you finally came crawling back." Back on the Kirilon, the remaining crew on the Kirilon worked in silence. Hull. Repairs were slow. Power was limited. Rations were almost gone. Every few hours, someone died. Wounds, poison, infection. No one had responded to the message. Sarah sat beside a dead engine panel, whispering, "He won't come. They're monsters. They don't help anyone." But Threx believed otherwise. "The humans, they change wars," he said. "Even the council feared them. That's why they were never invited." "But they were violent," Sarah replied. "They destroyed their own planet. Twice." Threx turned to her. "Exactly. Arrival 4 days. Later, the Kirilon's scanners lit up. A small Earth transport ship dropped out of hyperspace. Old design, stealth-built, and marked with no flag. The crew rushed to the observation deck. Out of the ship stepped one human. No army. No ship formation. No war fleet. Just one man. Eli Maddox. The Varnock crew was stunned. "Is this a joke?" a junior officer muttered. "One human?" Eli walked up the ramp slowly, weapons strapped across his back. His steps echoed on the metal floor. When he reached Threx, he stopped. "You called," he said. "Let's get to work." Disbelief. Inside the ship, Eli walked through broken corridors and wrecked systems. He asked no questions, just observed. "What do you need?" Threx finally asked. Eli looked at the schematic of the ship. "Time, materials, a few people who can follow orders, and you out of my way." The Varnock bristled. Their pride was wounded, but Threx stepped aside. "Let him work," he said, "or we all die." Rebuilding begins. Over the next 48 hours, Eli made changes. He rewired the defense turrets, turning them into close-range traps. He gutted escape pods, packed them with explosives. He trained 5 soldiers, hard, brutal drills. That left them gasping, and he asked for every piece of scrap metal on the ship. When Threx asked why, Eli only said, "I'm building teeth." The enemy comes. A small Zareth scout ship entered orbit. It scanned the wreckage of the Kirilon, then began descending. The Varnock panicked. Some wanted to run. Eli said nothing. He stood at the airlock, waiting. "Let it land," he whispered. The Zareth ship touched down. The doors opened. 5 Zareth drones crawled out, spiked, glowing, and screeching. Then a strange sound echoed through the valley. Beep! 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 Boom! The entire landing pad exploded. Scrap metal turned into shrapnel. Flames tore the drones apart. The Varnock watched in shock as pieces of Zareth armor rained down. That, Eli said, was the warning shot. A new order later that night, the crew gathered in the mess hall, what was left of it. They looked at the human, a killer, a strategist, a man with no rank but total command. "What are you?" Sarah finally asked. Eli took a long drink from a metal flask. "I'm what you get when survival matters more than pride." Threx stood beside him. "We called Earth for help," he said, "and Earth sent us something better." The camera panned to the stars outside. In the distance, more Zareth signals blinked on the radar. The storm was coming. But now, the Varnock had a new weapon. The Kirilon was quiet, the kind of silence that comes after a storm, full of fear, full of tension, and now, full of confusion. The crew expected ships, weapons, Earth's hidden army. Instead, they got one man. Arrival Shock Commander Threx stood, with his arms behind his back, watching the human from the observation deck. Eli Maddox moved like he'd done this before. Calm, focused, every step had purpose. "He's alone," said Officer Varen, his voice bitter. "The humans sent a single soldier." "No," Threx replied. "They sent a killer." Below, Eli, crouched near a broken power line, tracing it with his fingers. Then he pulled a tool from his bag and started working, without asking permission. Alien tension. Inside the mess hall, arguments began. "This is a joke," one soldier spat. "We're dying and he thinks he can fix everything alone? He's arrogant," said another. "Typical human. No honor, no respect." Sarah, silent until now, stood slowly. "You all saw what he did to the scout ship." They fell silent. The explosion that killed 5 Zareth drones had changed something in their minds. But still, someone whispered, "He's just a human." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Maybe that's what scares me." The human walks. In the doors hissed open. Eli entered, carrying a device in each hand. One sparked, the other ticked. "Where's your engineer?" he asked. No one answered. Eli set the sparking device on the table. "If no one's going to help, I'll rewire your ship myself. But don't blame me if something explodes." "Why? Are you even here?" someone asked sharply. Eli looked up. "Because I'm good at killing things, and you're bad at staying alive." Rebuilding the ruins, Threx gave Eli what he asked for: access to engineering, weapon systems, and the ship's blueprints. Over the next 2 days, Eli barely slept. He crawled through vents, disassembled cannons, rerouted power lines, Every Varnock technician who tried to help got barked at or ignored. He moved with speed and purpose, but always silent. Soon, changes started to show. Defense turrets activated for the first time in weeks. Emergency power held steady. Drones scanned the outer hull for weak points. Even the food replicators began working again. One soldier whispered, "He's not rebuilding. He's preparing for war." The first strategy meeting Threx gathered his senior officers and invited Eli to the command room. The human arrived late, covered in grease and dust. He dropped a hologram projector on the table. It flickered on, showing a detailed 3D map of the planet, the surrounding valley, and known Zareth paths. "Where did you get this?" Sarah asked. "I scanned your recon logs," Eli replied. "You weren't using them properly." Then he pointed to a narrow canyon. "They'll come from here next. They always choose the same pattern." "They adapt," Threx said. "They might change." "They might," Eli agreed. "But I'll adapt faster." Resistance Builds Eli selected 5 Varnock soldiers for a special squad. Sarah was one of them, training. Was brutal. Early morning drills, hand-to-hand combat, trap construction, sniper positioning, silent movement through rubble. Many failed, 3 quit. But Sarah stayed. She watched Eli closely. One night, as they sat by a broken reactor vent, she asked him, "Why are you helping us?" Eli didn't look at her. "You think you're the only ones who lost something," he said. "The Zareth came to Earth once. The Council denied it, but I saw them. They took my brother." Sarah said nothing. Eli stood. "That's why I fight." Signal detected later that week, an alarm blared. Incoming signal. Low orbit. Threx rushed to the command deck. Sarah and Eli followed. "A second scout ship," Varen said. "Same size, same heat signature." Eli leaned over the monitor. "Good. Let them land. You can't fight them alone again," Varen snapped. "I'm not going to fight them," Eli said calmly. "You are." He tapped the screen. "Remember that narrow canyon I showed you? The trap is set under Eli's orders." The Varnock crew moved fast. Metal debris was laid across the canyon floor, explosive traps hidden beneath. A false distress beacon was placed near a broken shuttle. Sarah and her new team took position on the ridge. The bait was set. Hours passed. Then, shadows. The Zareth. Drones came crawling, hissing, glowing faint red in the dusk. They fell for the trap, fire and fury. The explosion lit up the night sky. Shrapnel tore through the Zareth formation. Drones scrambled in confusion, some trying to flee, others twitching, broken. That's when the Varnock opened fire. For the first time in weeks, they weren't running. They weren't hiding. They were fighting back. Sarah shot 2 drones from a high position. Varen used a gravity mine to crush a third. And in the chaos, Eli walked through the smoke, knife in hand, silently finishing the wounded. When it was over, 11 Zareth bodies lay motionless on the canyon floor. Not a single Varnock life was lost. Respect earned back aboard the Kirilon, the mood had changed. The Varnock crew no longer looked at Eli with suspicion. Now, they looked at him with fearful respect. "He's dangerous," someone whispered. "Good," another replied. "So are the Zareth." The warning us. Eli cleaned his knife. Sarah approached him. "We won today," she said. Eli shook his head. "No, that was just a scout team." "What's next?" He looked at the stars. "They're watching, studying. The next wave won't be small." The battle at the canyon changed everything. For the first time, the Varnock crew had won. They had followed a human's plan and lived. But deep inside the ship, Eli Maddox wasn't celebrating. He was planning. The calm before the storm, Eli sat, alone in the old strategy room. The lights flickered overhead. Wires hung from the ceiling. He stared at a blinking radar screen. Zareth signals moved, small ones for now, but he knew what was coming. He muttered, "They learn. Every time, Commander Threx entered quietly. Our scouts report no enemy in the area. You bought us time. Eli didn't turn around. Time to die slower, or time to get smarter. That's the only choice. Building the unthinkable, Eli called a meeting. Only a few came. Commander Threx, Lieutenant Sarah, Engineer Palin, Weapons Officer Varen Eli, dropped a hand-drawn blueprint on the table. This, he said, is your new defense grid. They stared. Confused. You want to use the ruins? Palin asked. Those buildings are half collapsed. Perfect places for ambushes, Eli said. You want to turn the wreckage of our city into a trap? Varen asked. No, I want to turn it into a graveyard. For them. Eli's vision, the plan was wild. Use destroyed buildings as kill zones, convert fuel pipes into flame traps, place sharp metal walls that close in when triggered. Fill the central corridor with noise emitters, Zareth sensors would go blind, and set up decoys, lifelike dummies to confuse them. It wasn't clean, it wasn't noble, but it would work. Threx finally said, "This is not how we fight." Eli looked him in the eyes. "This is how you survive." Training the team over the next few days, Eli pushed the crew harder than ever before. He trained Sarah's squad in fast movement, using shadows and rubble. He taught the engineers how to build pressure traps using old ship parts. He showed Varen how to rig explosives in half-buried pods. Fighting the Zareth isn't about strength, he told them. It's about being smarter, faster, meaner. The Varnock had always fought with pride, face to face, but now they learned to fight dirty, and they liked it. The test run LA chose an old Zareth drone carcass and reactivated its core. "What are you doing?" Sarah asked. "Let's see if they fall for the bait." He planted the drone outside the ruin zone, broadcasting a fake signal. Then the crew waited. 2 days passed. Then a response. 5. Zareth drones dropped from orbit. Silent, crawling, hungry, they entered the ruins and never came out. The Zareth learn. But the Zareth weren't stupid. The next scout group didn't take the same path. They split up, moved slowly. Scanned for traps, they adapted. Eli expected it. He activated the noise emitters, confusing their tracking. The drones began attacking shadows, wasting energy. Then the flame traps ignited. Screams echoed through the ruins. Machine and beast mixed together. The price of war after the battle, 2 Varnock soldiers were dead. Another lost an arm. Sarah looked, shaken. "We won again," she said. "But it's costing us." Eli nodded. "Survival always costs something." She stared at him. "How do you live with it?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked out at the stars. "They'll send something. Bigger next time," he said. "A hive group, maybe worse." Preparing the next move, Eli gathered the surviving crew in the main hall. He showed them a new map, marked with green zones, safe, and red zones, death traps. "We own the ruins now," he said. "But that's not enough." "What's next?" someone asked. Eli pointed to the sky. "We go up. We find their mothership, and we hurt it." Whispers filled the room. "No one's ever infiltrated a Zareth hive ship," Threx warned. "I know," Eli said. "That's why they won't expect it." A dangerous gift Ellie pulled out a device, Zareth tech, partially broken, blinking softly. "Got this from one of the scouts," he said. "It's a signal key. If we can amplify it, we can trace the mothership." Palin hesitated. "We don't know what'll happen if we turn it on." Eli smiled faintly. "Let's find out." The traps were working. The humans' plan had bought them time. But time was running out. The Kirilon's scanners lit up red. A Zareth hive drone ship was descending. This wasn't a scout group anymore. It was war. Warning from the stars. 3 heat signatures, reported Varen. 1 large, 2 smaller. All Zareth tech. Commander Threx stood frozen, eyes locked on the screen. Sarah whispered, "They know we're here." Eli leaned in. "Good. Let them come." Preparing for battle, Eli activated the command console. He showed the crew a simple strategy. Lure the Zareth ground team into the ruins. Force them into Zone 9, the most heavily trapped section. Surround and eliminate. Capture one drone intact for study. "You want to capture one?" Sarah asked. "We need to learn what makes them tick," Eli replied. "It's not just about killing. It's about knowing." The drop begins from the sky. A dark cloud fell. The Hive drone ship opened slowly, like a metal flower blooming in space. 20 Zareth drones descended, some on wings, others crawling on 8 sharp legs. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They just moved, fast and silent. The first engagement, Sarah's team waited in the ruins, hidden in old towers, buried in rubble. Perched behind steel beams, Eli's voice echoed softly through the comm. "Hold fire. Let them enter the zone." The drones marched through broken streets, their red eyes scanning. One drone stepped over a glowing plate. Click. The entire street erupted, shrapnel and flames engulfing 3 drones instantly. The rest scattered, but it was already too late. Varnock snipers opened fire. Bullets struck armor. Blades followed. Explosives fell from rooftops. It was chaos. It was working. Eye of the Storm, Eli moved like a shadow, slipping between alleys, planting more explosives as he went. He didn't shoot yet. He watched. He learned. Then he saw it. A large drone, different from the others. Taller. Stronger. Glowing blue veins. "That's the leader," Eli said. "New model, adaptive." It turned suddenly, staring directly at him. Eli froze, then it charged. Close combat. The adaptive drone moved faster than expected. Eli rolled, barely dodging a claw swipe that crushed a concrete wall. He fired 2 shots. One hit the leg, the other bounced off. He reached for a grenade, but the drone kicked it away. Then it pounced. Eli slammed into the ground, choking as the weight pressed. "Down!" The drone hissed, preparing to pierce his skull. Suddenly, blam! Sarah fired a bolt cannon from the ridge. It slammed into the drone's back, knocking it sideways. Eli grabbed a blade from his boot and drove it into the drone's chest. The machine screamed, shuddered, and went still. Blood and loss. The battle was almost over. 15 drones were destroyed. 3 ran. 2 were captured, barely functional. But it came at a cost. One of Sarah's team, Officer Laura, was dead. Another, gravely injured. As they carried the wounded back, Sarah looked at Eli. "We won again," she said. "But we're bleeding." Eli didn't reply. He stood over the damaged drone, studying its circuits. "They're learning faster than I thought," he said. "We need to move faster, too." Interrogating the machine back on the Kirilon, the engineers opened the drones. Memory core, strange symbols. Half code, half biological pulses. Palin said, "It's like it's alive." But not. It thinks, remembers, reacts. Eli nodded slowly. "It's not a drone. It's a soldier." Unexpected truth as the crew studied the core. Something strange happened. The screen flashed. A message appeared in Galactic Common, a language the Zareth had never used. "We see you, human." Everyone stared in silence. Then another line appeared. "We remember Earth." Eli's past. Revealed. Sarah confronted Eli after the message. "What do they mean? Remember Earth?" Eli didn't want to speak. But finally, he did. 10 years ago, they came, he said. A silent ship. Black. Fast. It landed in Alaska. I was part of the team sent to investigate. They killed all of us except me. He looked down. My brother was taken. Never found. Sarah's voice was quiet. You never told anyone? They made me sign silence orders, but I never forgot. He looked at the screen again. They haven't either. The Kirilon was quiet again. No alarms, no drone attacks, just cold silence. But in the lab, something was pulsing. The captured Zareth drone's memory core was alive, glowing, breathing, watching. Something inside the machine. Engineer Palin leaned over the workbench. Sweat dripped from his forehead. He had seen thousands of machines in his career, but nothing like this. He touched the glowing core. It responded. A soft sound like a heartbeat echoed from the device. Commander Threx stood behind him. "Is it safe?" "No," Palin whispered. "But it's talking." Eli Steps and Eli Maddox entered the lab. He didn't like machines he couldn't understand. "What did it say?" he asked. Palin pointed to the screen. At first, just patterns, signals, but now, words. The core flashed. More words appeared. "You are the mistake." "You opened the door." Threx frowned. "What does that mean?" Eli's face turned dark. "It means we didn't discover the Zareth," he said. "We created them." A terrible theory. Palin pulled up files from the drone's memory. He used translation software, old Earth codebreakers, and Varnock military AI. The story that came out was terrifying. Hundreds of years ago, the Galactic Council tried to make the perfect army. They mixed tech, biology, and psychic code. They wanted silent, obedient, ever-evolving soldiers. But something went wrong. The soldiers broke free, killed their creators, spread like a virus. The Council covered it up, changed records, burned research, lied to the galaxy. The project's name? Zareth, the Varnock's rage. When the truth was revealed, many Varnock soldiers were furious. "They lied to us," shouted one. "They made us fight their mistake." Sarah stood up. "Now we know why they never warned us." "They were scared," Eli said. "Scared it would come back to them. And now it's come to us," Threx finished. Inside the core, Eli decided to go further. He connected his old Earth military scanner to the Zareth core. He wanted to see what they saw. The screen flickered. Suddenly, images flashed. Fast, violent, chaotic. Cities burning, stars dying, ships melting mid-space. And a human face. Eli's face. In their memory, he pulled back, shaken. "They remember me," he muttered, the first message. Then something even stranger happened. The core sent out a weak signal, not to the hive, but back to the Kirilon speakers. A deep, broken voice filled the room. "Human, you are the virus. You are the weapon." Eli stared at the speakers. "What are you trying to say?" "You are not savior. You are seed." Silence. Then static. "What does it mean?" Sarah looked shaken. "What did it mean?" "Seed." Eli paced the room. "They don't just fight us. They know us. Maybe we're connected." Palin added. "Their tech is mixed with biology. They could have taken DNA, patterns, thoughts." "You're saying they copied you?" Threx asked. "Maybe," Eli whispered. "Or maybe they grew because of us." A hidden map suddenly. The core blinked a new code. Not a warning, a map, a location in deep space, far from any colony. A black zone, uncharted. "What's there?" Sarah asked. "No clue," Palin said. Eli looked at it coldly. "I think it's where they were born." A terrible decision. Threx called a council of officers. Eli stood in front of them. "We have two choices," he said. "Wait for the next wave, or strike first." "Go to their origin?" an officer shouted. "That's suicide." Eli nodded. "Exactly. That's why they won't expect it." Sarah added. "They know where we are, but we don't know what they are." Eli turned to Threx. "You called Earth for help. Let me finish what we started." The crew of the Kirilon was preparing for war, but while everyone looked to the stars for danger, The real threat was already inside. Dark whispers. Lieutenant Sarah noticed it first. Someone had disabled the security feed near the drone lab. Twice. Once could have been an error. Twice. No! She reported it to Commander Threx. We may have a traitor, she said. Threx's eyes narrowed. If someone is helping the Zareth from the inside? Sarah finished the thought. We're already dead. Eli begins the hunt. Ellie Maddox didn't trust anyone easily. But he trusted patterns, and now, something wasn't adding up. Traps were triggering too early, supplies were vanishing, messages were being intercepted before they reached the front line. Eli gathered Sarah and Varnock engineer Palin in a dark chamber beneath the ship. This isn't sabotage, he said. It's intelligence work. Someone's feeding the enemy our playbook. Secret surveillance. Palin installed a hidden tracker on the Zareth drone lab. He also tagged communication relays with motion sensors. 3 days later, the data came back. Someone had entered the lab at 030, long after curfew. No authorization. No logs. Eli checked the camera feed, corrupted, but there was one frame, one blur. A tail, short and dark. Only a few species on the ship had that body type. Suspicion falls. They narrowed it down to 6 Varnock crew members. Eli watched them all. Listened, observed their behavior. Most were angry at the Zareth, but one was too quiet. Junior Officer Caval. He avoided patrols, spoke rarely, and his personal quarters had been cleaned twice in one day. Too clean. A risky trap. Ellie set a decoy transmission, fake orders about a new secret strike team being deployed to ambush, an incoming Zareth drop. Only a few people knew about it. 2 hours later, the enemy changed direction. The Zareth avoided the ambush site entirely. Someone had warned them. The confrontation. Eli and Sarah entered Caval's quarters late at night. They found nothing, at first, until Eli pried open a metal panel beneath the bed. Inside, a communication device tuned to Zareth frequencies, a small vial of black liquid, and a photo of a young Varnock child. Sarah gasped. That's his daughter. The truth. Eli confronted Caval in the medbay. At first, Caval stayed silent. Then, he broke. They have her, he said. My daughter was taken during the second attack. I thought she was dead, but then they showed me. They speak to you? Threx asked, shocked. Caval nodded slowly. Not in words, in images, memories. They showed me her alive. They said if I helped, they'd let her go. Eli stepped forward, cold and firm. They lied, divided loyalty. The ship was torn. Some crew wanted Caval executed immediately. Others felt pity. Sarah stood between them all. He's guilty, but he's not evil. Palin added, he may still help us. Threx turned to Eli. What do you suggest? Eli didn't blink. Use him. The double-play Caval was given a choice. Help them infiltrate the Zareth signal network, use the same channel he used for betrayal, or be locked in a stasis pod until the war ended. Caval chose to help. Under Eli's supervision, they sent a fake message to the Zareth. Human is leaving soon. Solo mission. He'll be vulnerable. It was bait. The enemy bites 3 Zareth drones attacked a supposed human transport zone, exactly where Eli had staged an ambush. All 3 were destroyed. Eli smirked. They still trust him. That night, Sarah looked at Caval. Your daughter, she said softly. If she's alive, we'll find her. Caval said nothing, but a tear rolled down his cheek. The deeper you go into the dark, the less human you feel. A desperate plan. The alliance was dying. The enemy was closing in. But Eli had a plan. We hit the heart, he told Commander Threx. We go into the Zareth mothership. Threx blinked in shock. That ship is death. Eli stared back. Then we give death, a taste of fear. The team assembles. They couldn't take many, just 4. Eli Maddox, human survivor and strategist. Sarah, sharpshooter and ship's intelligence officer. Kevel, the ex-trader who knew the Zareth's comm routes. Palin, Varnock engineer and tech specialist, one ship, one shot. They called it Operation Silent Core, into the void. They left under cover of a solar flare, stealth systems on, no lights, no comms, no signals, only darkness. The Zareth mothership floated like a black moon, silent and massive, hiding in a gas cloud near the dead planet Ares 7. Eli whispered, "That's it." Even from orbit, it pulsed, alive. Docking, the beast Palin hacked the outer defense net. "We have 9 minutes before they notice," he said. The small stealth vessel attached itself to the hull like a tick. The four stepped into an alien tunnel. Made of black flesh and metal, it moved. The walls were warm, breathing. Cavall shook. "They've changed. This isn't just tech anymore." Sarah checked her rifle. "They're evolving." The Hall of Echoes, they entered a large chamber. Thousands of Zareth drones hung from the walls, asleep, wired into the walls, eyes closed, mouths open. Feeding tubes ran into their spines. Eli held up a hand. "Move." Slow. No sound. But Cavall turned and stepped on something. Crunch. A small bone. The drones twitched. The escape run sirens didn't sound, but a low hum began. The walls shifted. Drones began to detach from the walls. Eli shouted, "Move!" They ran through shifting corridors. Every turn was different. The mothership was alive and watching. Palin dropped motion mines behind them. Sarah covered the rear. Kevel followed close, whispering his daughter's name. The core brain they reached. The center. A massive chamber filled with biotubes and dark light. In the middle, a living brain. It pulsed with glowing nerves. Each pulse echoed through the ship. "This is the source," Palin said. "This is how they think, how they command." Cavall pointed. "That tube, she's there." And she was. His daughter, floating inside, alive. The choice Sarah read the scans. "We destroy this brain, the ship dies." But the girl... Cavall trembled. "She'll die too." Eli looked at the sleeping child, then at the thousands of lives the Zareth had taken. "This brain is controlling millions of drones. If we don't stop it now," Cavall whispered. "There must be another way." The ambush before they could decide, the chamber's walls cracked open. Zareth guards poured in, larger, more evolved than before. Some had human-like limbs grafted into their bodies. One of them looked at Eli and spoke, not in voice, but into his mind. "You bring fire to the nest. Yet the nest holds your blood." Eli collapsed in pain. Sarah shot the guard between the eyes. Chaos broke loose. Cavall's redemption. As the fight raged, Cavall grabbed a bioblade from the wall. He ran to the control altar near the girl's pod. He stabbed it again and again until it blinked green. The pod opened. His daughter fell out, gasping. Alive. He held her close, then handed her to Palin. "Go!" Palin screamed. "What about you?" Kevel turned back toward the core. "She's free. Now I make it right." The blast ally triggered the overload sequence. "Kevel, get out!" But Kevel stayed. He pressed his hand into the core, staring at the brain. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then, boom! "Escape Palin, Sarah," and Eli made it to the ship with the girl. The explosion behind them lit the gas cloud. A starburst of green and red fire tore through space. The mothership screamed before going silent. Last time, the Zareth mothership was destroyed. Kevel gave his life. His daughter was saved. But deep in the black of space, the real invasion had only just begun. A cold transmission. 3 days after the blast, the Kirilon received a signal. It came from Sector E19, a dead zone. No ships, no colonies. Commander Threx listened first. Then he called Eli. Eli entered the bridge. The crew looked pale. The message repeated, "We are the rest. We saw what you did. Now we come." The voice was Zareth. But behind it, there was something else, something deeper, older, smarter, preparing for impact. The Alliance had no time. The Zareth were coming, not just drones, not just one ship, an entire swarm. More than 300 warships were moving toward Alliance space. Commander Threx stared at the star map. "This isn't an attack," he said. "It's an extinction." Eli walked to the table, silent. Then he spoke. "We draw them in." "Draw them in where?" Sarah asked. Eli tapped the map. "Earth's graveyard, the Black Sector. It's filled with debris from our old wars." "No one goes there," Palin said. "It's a ship trap." "Exactly." Eli smiled. "We give them a trap they'll never forget. Earth's graveyard." The crew flew to Sector 7 Black. It was terrifying. A massive graveyard of broken ships, hundreds of them, some older than the war. Silent, empty, ghosts floating through space. The perfect place for a last stand. The trap begins Palin. Worked on reactivating the mines and ship reactors. Sarah connected old weapon systems together. Eli sent coded messages across the galaxy. "If you can hear this, and you still want to live, come to Earth's graveyard." One by one, old fighters arrived. Broken, weak, scared, but ready. The survivors were uniting. The first wave. The Zareth came in waves, first small scouts, then larger cruisers, then the main hive ships, huge, covered in living armor. The defenders were outnumbered. To 1. But they were ready. The trap was set. As the Zareth advanced, the graveyard lit up. Battle in the dark explosions filled the void. Old Earth cannons fired. Mines blew holes in Zareth armor. The Alliance ships darted through wrecks, using debris as shields. It was chaos, and in the center of it, Eli piloted a stolen Zareth scout, right into the heart of the enemy swarm. The signal device in the stolen ship. Eli carried something deadly, a signal device from the Zareth brain they destroyed in Part 7. If he could plant it in the hive ship's core, it would send a reverse pulse, frying their minds. But to do it, he had to fly straight into the beast. Last time, the final trap was triggered. The hive fleet destroyed. Eli survived. But far beyond the stars, something ancient had opened its eyes. A strange silence. 3 weeks passed after the Battle of Earth's graveyard. No Zareth attacks, no signals, no movements. Peace? No point Eli knew better. "They're not dead," he told Commander Threx. "They're hiding." A forgotten signal Palin intercepted a deep space echo. Not radio, not language. A pulse, repeating. Slow, massive. It was coming from Zareth Prime, a planet, thought to be uninhabited for centuries. "No one's gone near it in over 400 years, Sarah whispered. "There's a reason," Eli said. "That's where the war truly began." Mission to Zareth Prime. A small team was chosen. Eli Maddox, Sarah Vaughn, Palin 5 battle-hardened commandos. They boarded a stealth cruiser and began their descent. Zareth Prime was black and dead on the surface. No life, no sound. But deep underground, it breathed. Into the deep, the team entered an ancient Zareth tunnel. The walls pulsed like veins. Every step felt heavier. The deeper they went, the more they heard it. A voice, not with ears, with their minds, it whispered. "You destroyed my children. Now, you will see the mother." The queen revealed, at the heart of the planet. They saw it, a massive chamber, larger than any stadium. Floating in the center was her, the Zareth Queen, 10 stories tall. Covered in living metal and bone, eyes like molten stars, tentacles drifted like smoke. She didn't move. but she watched. Mind war. Suddenly, the team dropped to their knees. Pain shot through their heads. The queen wasn't speaking. She was invading. Eli tried to stand. Her voice echoed in his skull. You are the poison. But I have seen your world. I will become it. A terrifying revelation. The queen had evolved. She had absorbed pieces of the humans they'd captured, including Caval's mind and memories. She didn't just want to kill humanity, she wanted to become it. She's learning from us, Palin said, trembling. She's going to build her next army, human-shaped. Eli clenched his fists. Not if we stop her. Escape and explosion. They planted charges around the queen's chamber, but she began to awaken. Her tentacles thrashed, her eyes opened, blazing with fury. As the team ran, the queen let out a sound that cracked the walls. Eli turned back, hit the detonator. Boom! The chamber collapsed, but the queen's scream echoed through space. Aftermath, back aboard the cruiser, the team watched as Zareth Prime split along a fault line. But Eli didn't smile. She's not dead, he whispered. Sarah nodded. She's moving. From deep space, a massive life form began drifting toward the stars, toward Earth. The Zareth Queen awakened. She learned from humanity, and now she was coming for Earth. The sky darkens above Earth's orbit. Alarms screamed. A shadow moved across the sun. Huge, alive. The Zareth Queen. She was no longer hiding underground. She had turned herself into a living, breathing warship, larger than a moon, built from stolen ships and stolen minds. She was here to end everything. Earth's final defense. Earth's orbital fleets were activated. Thousands of ships, every weapon, every pilot. Eli stood on the bridge of the Kirilon, now upgraded with alien tech. Commander Threx looked at him. She wants your species gone. Eli replied. Then she picked the wrong planet. The first impact, the Queen released her children. Bioships, grown in her body, rushed toward Earth's fleets. They screamed like banshees, bit into metal like insects. And when they died, they exploded. Earth's defenses began to crumble. Hundreds of ships lost in minutes, and then the Queen herself began to descend. The Plan Eli had one idea left. He remembered something from the Zareth hive systems. A queen cannot survive without her neural heart, a glowing core deep inside her chest. If they could destroy it, she would collapse. But it was buried behind layers of armor and tendrils. So Eli did what he always did. He volunteered to go in, the human spear. The Kirilon broke formation. It raced straight toward the Queen. She noticed, and she spoke. Human, you will be my final breath. Eli activated the core piercer, a weapon built from the stolen Zareth pulse tech. He flew the ship directly into her mouth. The Queen opened wide to devour it. That was her mistake. Inside the beast, the Kirilon slipped through layers of muscle and steel. Inside her body, it was chaos, liquid metal, fire, and twitching nerves. Palin shouted over the comms, "Signal is weak, but the heart is close." Eli looked at Sarah. She was crying. He handed her the escape pod key. "You're getting out." "No," she said. He smiled. "I need you to tell Earth what we did." The core. They reached it, a massive glowing orb, pulsing, beating. Eli stood. In front of it, with the piercer in hand, behind him the Queen's voice screamed, "You dare!" But he didn't listen. He closed his eyes and fired. The Queen dies. The core shattered. A wave of blue light exploded through the Queen's body. She thrashed in space, screamed, and then she stopped. Her children withered. Her body broke apart. The sky lit with fire, and Earth was safe. One last signal. Back on Earth, the world watched. Billions waited. And finally, Sarah's pod was seen entering the atmosphere. She survived. But Eli was gone. A New Hope 1 year later, a statue was built in the center of Earth's new defense academy. It showed a lone figure, standing tall with a pulse rifle in one hand and a Zareth tentacle in the other. The words beneath it, Eli Maddox Human, Fighter, Legend. He stood when everyone else had fallen,